Hello and welcome to the debate. I'm your host Sana Makul with you at PTV World. In today's show, we are going to be taking a look, of course, at the political situation of the country. Something, of course, that the entire nation is going to be seeing, and the dynamics evolve. The much awaited Hakiki Azadi March that had been called by the former Prime Minister and PTI Chairman Imran Khan for quite some time now has officially begun. It started earlier today from Lahore's Liberty Chowk and is expected to stay in Lahore at the moment and is going to be continuing to Gujranwala from tomorrow. And then, of course, in other parts of the country as well, it's going to proceed and apparently, according to schedule, is going to reach the federal capital on November 4th. These are, of course, the reports coming in with regards to what is happening, something that has been called as to be peaceful, and peaceful means being used for this particular march, which, according to the PTI chairman, is not something to topple the government, but is to ensure that the government is not run by foreign elements. And this is, of course, something that he said yesterday as well. Yesterday was an important day for another reason as well. There was a historic press conference by DGISI and DGISPR in which a number of issues and facts were highlighted, including those surrounding Arshad Sharif's death, and then, of course, the cipher that has been a major part of the PTI's narrative, and also in terms of the evolving political dynamic that we're going to be seeing unfold, which, of course, consequently also has an impact on the economic dynamics of the country, which unfortunately have been suffering for quite some time now. Just today, the stocks fell once again. This has been happening for the third consecutive day today, and lost 462.53 points, which is 1.11% to close at 41,140.33. Of course, the economic conditions are something of huge concern to Pakistan and something that the Prime Minister and the Foreign Office have been talking about at every platform, including the recent visit to Saudi Arabia and the upcoming one to China as well. And this, of course, means that the kind of situation in terms of the political dynamics that Pakistan is currently witnessing is unfortunately not helping our economic woes. And because of that, we have seen a backseat being taken by the investors as well. There are, of course, numerous other factors as well, but the political instability is a big one. And so we're going to talk a little bit more about that as well in terms of how in the coming days this is going to evolve. But more importantly, of course, we need to understand and try to figure out what exactly is going to happen so that the nation, of course, is also prepared in terms of what is going on. The government on its own part, of course, has made security arrangements and has fully prepared the police and armed personnel in terms of dealing with any untoward situation. Of course, the court and the government both have strictly advised the PTI to remain within the constitutional norms and not do anything that is against the law so that no untoward situation exists. But if it does, then they will be met with an iron hand. This has been said by the Interior Minister Rana Sanaullah. All of this, of course, points towards concerns that the entire public may have as to what sort of situation is going to unfold in the coming days and what is going to come out of this particular Hakiki Azadi March, since the one ask that has been coming in from the PTI leadership is that for elections, and we don't really see that happening anytime soon. So what exactly is the possibility now that this march has started in terms of a dialogue or in terms of course, the kind of political stability that we want to be seen in Pakistan? For this and more, as always, in the studios, I've been joined by senior analysts Farooq Patafi and Raja Faisal. And we've also been joined online by Mr. Kaisar Ahmed Shea, he's MNA PMLN, and also by Arif Chaudhry, who's a legal expert. Thank you very much, gentlemen, for joining us and being a part of the debate today. Let me start with you, Farooq. Considering, of course, the current situation and the way that the political dynamics have evolved in the recent past, today is the day that the long march has officially started. And considering the context, especially that of the events of yesterday and then, of course, previously, also including Arshad Sharif's murder, what exactly do you think is going to transpire in the coming days? There is, of course, the issue of whether or not there's going to be any untoward situation, assurances of which have been given from the PTI in terms of their objective and their intention of keeping it peaceful. But the kind of preparations and the kind of political temperature that we're seeing in the country, it seems that perhaps the situation can be more precarious.
Right, Sana, as far as the future is concerned, I'm perhaps not the appropriate person to actually tell you because I'm not a seer. But what I can, yeah, sorry?
Yes, I said I knew you'd say that.
Yeah, yeah. I'm not, I cannot divine the future. but what I can do is give you an approximation of
Yes.
that. Yesterday, when Imran Khan Sahab was actually holding this Twitter space, I was listening to what he was saying. And one thing that worried me a lot was the kind of, especially he has very loyal following abroad in UK and the US. So the people who were actually calling in and talking to Khan Sahab were actually giving him the impression or image of a messiah. And I would say that Khan Sahab and all the politicians should beware of this, because the similar kind of thing happened when Mohtarma Benazir Bhutto was coming to Pakistan, and at that time everybody kept on actually pushing her forward that she should take further and further risk, and I think that politicians usually end up taking such risks, which exposes them to unnecessary, assaults or attacks or risks. So first thing is that Khan Sahab should actually make sure that he stays safe. That is important because remember that at this moment, because of the polarization in the society, the circumstances can get volatile, and we should never risk it, right? Now, speaking of what he has set out to achieve, I think that the first purpose at this moment is, although they keep on saying that the purpose is to displace the government, but the actual purpose seems to be to put the word out, to get maximum face time on national media, on social media, and connect with people. That way they do something very interesting. Whether Imran Khan Sahab or PTI get the kind of election they want as quickly as he wants, the point is his narrative is the only narrative which is reaching the common man on the street. So in that situation, he gets to influence the upcoming elections whenever they are, right? And that seems to be the actual, purpose in his movement. But I don't know, after the PEMRA's ban and umpteen other things that might be there, and perhaps the government or the ruling alliance might be able to put out counter narrative. If that happens, how does that play out?
Right, absolutely. And let's talk more about that with Mr. Kesser Ahmed Sheikh, who's MNP MLN. He's joined us online in the debate. Thank you very much to Kesser Sahab for being with us, and of course Arif Chaudhry, who's a legal expert. Thank you very much for being with us. Kesser Sahab, I'll start with you. Considering, of course, that the kind of political mileage and the kind of importance, the narrative that the PTI has been talking about since the ouster of the former Prime Minister is something that perhaps is largely being absorbed by the public, and the lack thereof in terms of what is being offered otherwise is something of concern, irrespective of whether or not, technically speaking, this Hakiki Azadi March is a success or not. Because, of course, at the end of the day, the ask has been with regards to elections. But in any case, the PTI leadership seems to be gaining ground in terms of course, traction, and then, of course, in terms of gaining the kind of support that they have, irrespective of the context of the audio leaks or previous cases or the Toshakhana reference or whatever has been said with reference to the institutions as well. Despite all of that, it seems that perhaps whatever is being talked about from the PTI leadership is what the public is seeing and accepting. What sort of a measure is there, not just in terms of security concerns, but in terms of making sure that the public is aware of what is going on and is understanding what the current dynamic really means? How exactly is the ruling government going to ensure that in the context of this long march? Kesser Sahab, are you with us?
Yes.
Yes, go ahead, please.
Yes. Should I start?
Yes. So,
Right.
can you hear us, sir?
Do you hear me?
Right. I suppose you can hear us, but I don't think we can hear you very clearly. Kesser Sahab, if you can just try once more to say something, because we're not understanding. Unfortunately, I think we haven't been able to connect with Kesser Sahab, but we'll try again, Kesser Sahab, and stay online with us. Arif Sahab, I'll come to you, considering, of course, the political matters aside, and you can also comment on that if you like. But in terms of course, the law and order situation, it's important to be able to understand the court's orders in this regard, and then, of course, what is in the interest of Pakistan in general as well. How exactly do you see this situation, considering, of course, that even in previous situations or previous rallies, which have been called out to be peaceful in intent, the situation has changed, and there then seems to be a lot of blurring lines in terms of who did what or who started what. At the end of the day, it's the public who's going to suffer and the country that's going to suffer. How exactly will the legality going to pan out if there is any untoward situation?
Yeah, thank you very much. Since the fall of this government through no confidence movement, things have been going worse to worst. The main problem was that, the government in time, who has taken over the reins of the country should have delivered, should have a counter narrative. So whatever they were saying before they came into power, they should have excelled that, and they should have shown people that hey, there was a gentleman who couldn't deliver, and we came into power not for the sake of power, not for the sake of getting our cases decided, but we came into power to alleviate poverty and all that wrong which was going to happen in Pakistan. We just wanted to correct that, and that's why we took such a bigger step. But unfortunately, nothing happened, on this side. And instead of facing, the people at large in terms of their problems, they put stress and strain only on one side, and that was talking against Imran Khan. And this is what I say: it is a backfire publicity. Whenever you talk against your enemies and you talk loudly as much as you can, then they get more publicity, and you're in fact helping them out. So this is what happened. Imran Khan wanted that there should be no moment when he should be out of picture, and that's what they served their purpose. Every time, on TV or radio, on one side it was Imran Khan, and on the other side it was the government of the time. They were talking about Imran Khan, and finally, what happened? Up to this moment, Imran Khan has gone down the hearts of the people, and he has captivated the pulse of the nation, because on one side there is a rampant corruption, rampant poverty, and people are losing their jobs, and there's no chances for them economic prosperity. So on the other side, he is the one who is talking loud and clear, and he is approaching the masses. So now the situation has come to a standstill situation. Once both the parties, and now even the third party has taken their positions, and now it is very difficult, rather impossible for either of them to change their stance, because everybody is placing
Right, and so Arif Saab, considering what you're saying to be true, is this something that are you saying is a deadlock and there cannot be any other possibility than this long march? Because considering what has been said by the PTI and their narrative, especially with regards to the institutions, the cipher, and then of course pointing fingers with regards to Arshad Sharif's murder as well, we are at a difficult position in the country's history in terms of how polarized the nation is and what sort of talk is being carried out by our political leaders. And when we take a look at all of this, if you're saying that there's no other option moving on from here, what sort of situation do you see in the coming days for the country, since of course this is not something that anyone wants?
Yeah, the most unfortunate situation is that the third party, which normally people consider an arbiter, and sometimes, and in many cases, they come out to rescue a situation. Now things have gone, away from them, because while they took their position on one side, and they have also come up with their own narrative, and that goes against Imran Khan. So now the situation is that we don't find anybody, we don't find any force who can bring them on table, because there is some solution to all this problem. If he's asking before time elections, so I don't think that it is a difficult situation, because there are only few months away from the election, and if you bring them
Right,
on table.
absolutely, and
Yeah,
it's of course a shame that neutrality is being taken a
some
look at in
promises.
such
Yeah,
question marks.
yeah.
But let me just quickly go to Kaisar Saab as well, and let me just try once again if he can hear us. Kaisar Saab, if you'd like to say something for me, please.
Yes, Mr. Arif totally mentioned his point of view. You see, it is very clear. The thing is that the Imran Khan is emphasizing early election. Now, for instance, if elections are convened or called even tomorrow, then the earliest election can be in February next year, because 3 months government, interim government will come into office. So we actually the elections are to be held by October. So the difference is about 6, 7 months or 8 months. But I don't know why Imran Khan is not coming on negotiation table. You see, each and every political talk is settled. We are the same people. We have two political parties having mandate. Both parties are three parties. All those parties are even including other parties. You see, the political parties, they are the popular parties. They have got mandate. They have got their seats in the National Assembly. So why don't they can come to table? If they will insist on just having long march. Okay, it is their right. They can have it. We don't differ with it. They can, if their protest is amicably settled. Okay, they can. Even in 2014, they had dharna number of days, a long time of dharnas. What happened to that? Even after that, there was a long march by Maulana Fazlur Rahman and other parties, sometimes other parties also. But what happened? There was no finalization on this dharna long march. So let them come if they want to just show that they are people. Okay, they may have people. You see, we have a population of 250 million people. How many people he can bring out? So this will be, if this is the case, then even elections are held, and after that, some party wins and some party loses. The
Right,
party
but
who
Kaisar Saab,
loses,
are you not at all concerned about what can possibly unfold in terms of any law and order situation, and also in terms of a sit-in, since the preparations and the reports coming out of what has been directed to the PTI workers, it seems that they are here to stay for long.
they can stay, whatever they can do. They are a political party, it is their right, they can protest. At least we are not worried about it. We have no concern. If they remain peaceful and if they use their right of protest, it is welcome, but they will be soon tired about it and they will have to go back. How many people they can, any political party cannot arrange
Kasab,
so huge.
Kasab, if we talk about the counter narrative, could we say that obviously you had a significant time in the office now, and the current ruling party somehow it was too busy in obviously other affairs, and there was a flood as well. In all of this fuss, they have failed to come up with a counter narrative that could actually bring the temperature a bit down, number one. And number two, if there was a narrative, then it wasn't highlighted in a way that can reach out to the people on the grassroots level, sir.
You see, every party has their own narrative. Our government is at present giving more emphasis on working. It is a very difficult situation. Our economy is being deteriorated. We feel that this is not the time to mention the narratives and counter narratives or to protest. I feel, you see, elections are just few months later to be held. So what is the main thing is that both parties or all the parties should sit together to think about the economic matter.
Right, and Kaisar Saab,
The
I
inflation is
understand
so high.
the need for the government to take tough decisions. So I'm just asking a follow-up question. You can add more on that. But in terms of the fact that even this kind of political instability that we're seeing is impacting the economic conditions as well. Shouldn't that also be a concern? Because at the end of the day, counter narratives are important for this reason as well, that they're important for the political stability and the economic stability. Since, of course, meanwhile, diplomatic relations and economic decisions are important, this is also impacting all of that.
Yes, you are right. You see, last time when they arranged Dharna, that was the time when the president of China was planned to visit Pakistan, and they wanted to have huge investment in Pakistan. This time, next week, our prime minister is scheduled to go to China. Again, they are arranging the same type of protest. What is the benefit they are getting? They are giving to the people. You see, the things are so serious. You can yourself notice that in last 2 months, 3 governments in UK, they changed because of the inflation. They cannot control the problems of the people. So we must, if we want to have some amicable solution, we should sit together. We are the political people. I presently am a chairman of Finance Committee of Standing Committee of Finance of National Assembly. I'm an elected chairman. And let us, I invite them. I earnestly invite them that the main thing is the economic matters. They have their own members in our committee. Out of 21 members, 10 members are from PTI. Okay, let's discuss. Have threadbare, any department I can convene, any institution I can call to find out the solution of the problems of the people. Actually, the people are suffering. They are for their own political interest. If they are contesting just to have arranging the long march, I think it is not in the benefit of Pakistan. It is not in the benefit of the people. We should come forward if there are some problems. Okay,
right.
Maybe
Faisal, I know that you want to ask a question, but let me ask you a question.
Yes.
This concern about this longish sit-in in Islamabad, especially when not only Prime Minister has to go to foreign tours, and then we hear that the Saudi Crown Prince is also going to come to Pakistan. Don't you think that it is going to complicate our foreign policy execution as well?
Farooq, it's a very good question, and yes, I agree with you. Of course, it would be a huge problem in coming days, especially when the schedule for all of these foreign trips, number one, and number two, the foreign high-ups visiting Pakistan is already set. And in this scenario, of course, the political chaos in Pakistan would lead to nothing. There will be, so many cancellations of the visits. So this is not going to be good for Pakistan's economy, number one.
Do you think there is going to be cancellation?
I believe so.
Why?
Because
they are not going to red zone, are they?
They are not going to red zone, but still it is being considered as, looking at the ground realities. Of course, Imran Khan has started from Lahore, and we just need to check what kind of build-up he's having in his march. So everyone would be concerned about it, and there will be, embassies, different embassies, the concerned embassies, they would be sending their reports, ground reports as well back home, and they would be obviously sending their reports in showing the concerns, whatever the ground realities
that
are.
Doesn't happen.
Yeah, and that's what I believe. I personally believe that the government obviously would be looking deep into it, and people like Kaisar Saab, they are sort of always staying away from the chaos or the mainstream political slogans. So I think Kaisar Saab can play a role, and there are so many people within personalities within the ruling party as well who can have a backdoor dialogue with the opposition leaders.
And let's see, Faisal, whether or
Yeah.
not that actually happens, or if that's going to actually come out in terms of any utility. Arif Saab, considering, of course, all of this and the impact that it has on the economic situation and then the diplomatic ones that we're talking about, at the end of the day, there is, of course, also a lot that is going on at home in terms of the devastating floods and the large number of people who are still suffering. Considering all of this and the woes of the common man, how difficult daily life has become, at the end of the day, the political leadership is, of course, accountable for all of this as well, not just in terms of security or what exactly is going to happen in terms of protection of life. There is also a lot of concern in how a person actually gets to go about their day. But this is something that perhaps is still sidelined once again at the end of the day when such political chaos happens. Is this not at all something that is impacting the way that the public is looking at this long march, and whether or not this is becoming a factor for our public to actually decide upon their political leadership?
Sana, if you remember, prior to coming into power, uh, this opposition, which is now the government of the time, they were demanding election before time. And that was, I think, maybe 2 years away from the normal schedule of elections. And at that point in time, they all were considering that if they have lost the confidence of the people, while on contrary, they were having majority in the parliament. But, the opposition was talking about the losing of the confidence of the people of Pakistan. So they were demanding election before time. And the other thing which they ignore is when we talk about democracy. Democracy means when there is such a situation, tumultuous situation as what we are facing these days. The only solution is go to elections and to have elected people come into power and to sort out the issues. And the third thing which I would like to say here, elections, every day we are facing elections, 7 seats, 9 seats, 10 seats, why this is happening, lot of expenses and lot of time of the nation is being spent and wasted on that, instead of all this, I would say it nonsense. We should once for all settle the dust. And when we understand that this problem is you know is devastating, and we are suffering a lot. So why not to have elections? Because as far as we are concerned, and you have rightly pointed out, both the panelists, that it is going to impact our not only economy, our relations with other countries, then they don't decide to come to Pakistan. Once they see that at that point in time situation was that they had to cancel visits. So these foreign dignitaries don't have time.
Right, but Arif, I want to understand what you're saying in terms of the elections. Why must we have elections, and how exactly is that going to help the political situation at the moment? Should we succumb or give in to any such demand that is coming in from any party or any particular segment of the society? Considering what all has happened or who's in power right now, there is no undemocratic process that has brought the situation to where it is today. And the by-elections, of course, continue to happen as part of the democratic process. How exactly is elections the only solution, and should be something that we should be proceeding towards?
And if
Yeah.
PTI is obviously demanding and the current government is not going towards the elections, is it because everyone knows that the PTI narratives, they were based upon just false ciphers?
No, it is not true. Because, whatever they said, after when they were removed from power, that is the narrative they built. I don't agree whether it was right or wrong, but the only problem is that this message has gone across the people at large and they have accepted it. And moreover, they were in majority when they were removed from the government. And after when you remove a person who is duly elected and in the same parliament, about which you claim that all this election was farce and the sham election, and they were not proper elections, and they were rigged elections. So then again, what is fun in sitting over there, and especially particularly facing the situation as we are facing these days, if somebody is a patriot and really understand that the problems are lurking and lot of problems, so let everybody complete the term. Now, if we say that this term, it is not called term because, this is all what happened with Nawaz Sharif. He didn't complete his tenure and he was removed in the middle of his term, and then, things went so wrong. And, still we have not been able to cope with that. Same thing happened with Imran Khan. He was getting most unpopular. He completed his another year and a half, he would never have been in the election. People were not, going to buy his ticket, get his tickets. So when we remove people before time, immaturely, prematurely, the problem is that, they get support from the people and they get sympathies from the people. So let people decide their fate and let them face the music. If the people don't like any party, they will be, not in power, and let them sort out the problems. The problem which country is facing, if you allow this Imran Khan to come into power, if he is elected, believe me, he will be very unpopular and, he will be
Right,
removed,
and right, and Arif Sahab, what I've understood, of course, from this, and maybe I'm wrong, but in terms of what is happening with regards to the PTI leadership, it seems that because they have created a ruckus and their ruckus has been accepted by the public at large, even if it is based on a false narrative, it begs the question of actually carrying out the elections, because now it has reached to this point. Farooq, is that a justification good enough, or a point good enough for somebody to decide the fact that, okay, then the only way forward now should be elections, because this is what the public has accepted, whether or not that is true and whether or not there is any democratic reason to do it?
Right, Sana, earlier you, actually you're now rephrasing your question.
Yes.
Earlier you were asking a masumana sawal or an innocent question, why the elections? Let me answer that as well, because we are a democracy, we are supposed to have elections by the end of the term.
Right, no, I meant early elections.
Doesn't mean we have to prepone them, doesn't mean that we should be holding an early election. And I tell you what works and what doesn't. Last time Imran Khan Sahab staged a sit-in, that was also about electoral politics. Did it work? Did he manage to bring down the government? He could not. Why? Because that is not an issue of the common man on the street. Usually what matters is Imran Khan Sahab, whenever he sticks to his original narrative, that is corruption, fighting corruption, and economic delivery, that pays, right? In Punjab, at the center also, when he was in power, there were good projects. I keep on talking about them. There was this health card issue, right, which was very effective. Then there was this not microfinance, but actually poverty alleviation projects. They were good concepts. So he could have played to that, and he would have finally gotten enough support that he could actually sway an election. But what he is doing right now, that is simply not the issue of the common man on the street. So what happens in coming days, he comes here and he stays here, and he can agitate, he can protest, he can talk, but that doesn't change anything. If he goes beyond the pale of restraint and resorts to violence, that becomes a problem for the state, and then the state responds. If the state starts something, it becomes, the onus comes on the state. So at this moment, I don't see why everybody is so troubled. If he comes, if he sits, that is not a big issue at all. Similarly, when you talk about government's approach, if the government is going to actually offer counter narrative, and that is not merely a bunch of ministers actually sitting in press conferences, but actually, the entire, blogosphere, internet, YouTube, and all that, the counter narratives to Imran Khan Sahab, then that works. If you try to stop Imran Khan Sahab from speaking, that doesn't work, because there are many layers of courts, and he can go anywhere, right? So in all this situation, I don't think that we need to panic or worry too much, because usually when one worries too much, there is an overreaction, and that can create a lot of problems.
Absolutely. Mr. Gesser, when we understand the kind of concerns that have been pointed out, it of course means that at the end of the day, perhaps the entire long march is going to be a matter of nerves. And we've seen that in terms of the kind of rhetoric coming in from both the sides as well, and the kind of statements being made. If everything is going to be carried out in peaceful means and there is no untoward situation, what sort of issues do you think will still be of concern or will be triggering enough for the government or the agencies to take any sort of action, and whether or not that in fact will be an option that is utilized.
And Kaisa Saab, if you can also address this concern as well, that can we say that prominent journalist Arshad Sharif event has actually escalated the matters?
Incident, not event.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Please, sir, go ahead.
Yes, please. You see, the thing is that about demand. Mr. Arif Chaudhary said that even previously our party was demanding elections, and okay, any party can demand election. Demanding elections is a separate thing, and just agreeing to it. Now, Imran Khan can demand election whenever they like. They can demand election, but elections were not held on our demand. Similarly, election will not be held on their demand. You see, demanding. I am elected for 5 years. My National Assembly, whole assembly is elected for 5 years. Why should we agree to early election? There is no possibility. And Imran Khan's government has been toppled because he had not enough 172 members with that party. They were not in majority, never in majority. That was a coalition government, and all those allies which were with the PTI, they came back. They did not agree with Mr. PTI policies. So their government was toppled. Okay, they had the right of the protest, but the thing is that our economy is going to suffer. We are having problems at this moment. It is not in the benefit of the country or in the benefit of the people. Okay, they can come. I feel they will not carry so huge a number of people that that we feel there is some chance of, but we agree they should come forward. We are ready to talk to them.
Right, and Kaisa Saab, you keep talking about that in terms of the readiness of dialogue, and perhaps there is some sort of dialogue still being carried out in terms of backdoor channels. But at the end of the day, do you think that there is any progress or any sort of real concerns that are being addressed by both the sides when these dialogues happen, or if they are going to happen in the future? What sort of concessions or negotiations do you think can even be carried out? Because the PTI leadership seems to be quite adamant on their ask for early elections, and if that's not the case, what other aspects do you think can be talked about?
I think this is the point which we should discuss in more detail. All of us should discuss. Of course, both parties should give some leverage, some flexibility in their stance. All concerned parties. It is the politicians who have to decide. No one else. If you go to establishment or we go to establishment, this is not the option available now. So we are, as politicians are there, we should come, and there could be some flexibility. Of course, why not? It should be. No, we are Pakistani. All of us are elected people. We want that there should be some outcome for the public. So that is very important. And you see, about poverty alleviation was being discussed. I tell you, Mr. Imran doesn't know about economic matters. But Mr. Raza Bakr did as a state bank governor. What he did, he gave 450 billion rupees to just few 50 big groups. I talked this in the last committee meeting when we had a finance standing committee meeting. I asked from the governor of Sindh that what Mr. Raza Bakr did. He's talking about that the Amir ka Pakistan dusra, Gharib ka dusra, but he actually strengthened the rich people. Only 450 billion rupees was given to the 50 big groups. This was mentioned. He mentioned, State Bank Governor mentioned 560 parties, but I know that even those 560 parties, each party 8, 10, one group had 8, 10 parties. So actually that fund at the zero rate was given to about 50 big groups, big companies. So what they talk about people? They did not do anything for the SMEs.
Right, and absolutely. At the end of the day, it's unfortunate that it is the people who suffer and who continue to suffer to this day.
they did not. I just one moment.
Yes, go
I'll
ahead.
tell you
Go
that
ahead.
in their tenure, the SMEs had only 7% of the total loan. This is a state bank figures. While in India, the SMEs are getting 15% of the loan. So they did not do anything for the SMEs, small and medium people. They only work for the rich people, and they don't know about it, the economic policies. Although the economic policies were totally failure, and what happened, IMF did not, they agreed to IMF conditionalities, and they did not fulfill it. And then
Right.
Pakistan suffered huge.
Just to clarify, Kaisar Saab, when I was talking about these matters, I was just pointing out that the Ehsaas program, the health card, were thought to be better demands of point of focus than actually agitating or demanding the government to step down and hold elections. This was my point. That instead,
Yes,
whenever he has gone for
yes, you're right.
corruption
I
issue,
tell you, Imran Khan
Panama
government, the
worked.
PTI government
2014
didn't
didn't.
do anything for the SMEs, small and medium, or the small agriculture landholders. You see,
Yeah,
all the
entitled to
funds
your
were
pay.
devoted. Actually, they don't had any planning. We have been discussing with Mr. Asif
Right,
Umar,
all
is
right.
the
We're short
finance
on time, Kaisar Saab. So let me just quickly take one more question from Arif Saab. Considering, of course, the kind of press conference that we have seen yesterday and the kind of talk that has been coming out from the PTI leadership, there has been repeated statements coming in from the institution saying that they don't want to be part of the political issues and that they have decided to step away from these political matters. But at the end of the day, it seems that with actions such as this long march or with the kind of statements that are being made, unfortunately, this is what happens, that they're being dragged back into this political situation. In terms of what we're going to see in the coming days and how it's going to evolve, what sort of actions do you see in terms of the involvement of the institutions, and whether or not the political leadership is in fact going to be able to go to them or to ask for their particular contribution in this case as before? And secondly, if this is not something that is going to happen in terms of the kind of demands that have been put forward by the PTI leadership, what sort of face saving will there be if there are in fact backdoor channels going on in terms of the kind of narrative that has been put forward?
Yeah, actually, but I don't carry the brief of any political party, particularly PTI. I don't have anything for that. All what I bothers me or concerns me is political situation which is created, has been created out of all this turmoil. This no confidence movement or whatever. So after that, the worst thing which I saw in my life, that was the press conference yesterday, because I could never think of such a thing that, at such a high level, and particularly those agencies who are not supposed to be very, openly seen, they had to step in. Whatever the reasons, I don't, go into detail, but the situation has come to such a standstill that those whom we consider that they are the ultimate arbiter, they had to intervene. And not intervene, they had to come out for their own clarification or explanations on certain issues. So this has worsened the situation to my mind, because my only hope or the hope of the nation is always when things go to such a situation, then there is, a party which is, naturally a stakeholder, biggest, highest stakeholder, and that is establishment. So they can come to the rescue. And now, as far as the solution to this problem is concerned, if sanity prevails on any side, or I would say that the most powerful party, whom still I consider that they should intervene. So instead of going to that extreme, let us cut it into a little bit of loaf of bread. They are asking
Right,
for early
absolutely. And
elections.
of course, that remains to be
Yeah.
seen, Arif Saab. But thank you very much for those views. Unfortunately, we're out of time. But thank you very much, Arif Chaudhary and Kaisar Ahmed for joining us. And of course, Farooq Patafi and Raja Faisal for being a part of the debate. The situation, of course, still has numerous questions, and whatever is going to evolve remains to be seen. But we'll keep updating, and we hope that whatever happens is for the good of the country and is peaceful, so that our people don't suffer any more than they're doing so far. That's all we have from the debate. We'll see you Monday.